stage 5 of the Amgen Tour of California. The riders moved away from Santa Barbara, 115 miles on to Avila Beach, and it was to turn out to be one of the turning points of this year's event.
Looking at the profile, it was all about the first part of the course with the high spot of San Marcos Pass, and then after that the ripples, and then down into agricultural flatlands, and wind was to be the order of the day.
All the leaders taking front rank on a misty shore down in Santa Barbara for the start, and then a rollout as the riders moved away for a short neutralized section before they began riding right out onto the climb of San Marcos. And immediately two riders breaking clear, Thomas de Gent and Chung Kai-Feng, quickly joined by the leader in the Nissan King of the Mountains, Carter Jones. He was hunting for the points at the top of the San Marcos Pass.
Yes, it was over the top of the San Marcos Pass that he got himself maximum points, but around about 60 kilometers to go, 40 miles of racing, as the three leaders were 2.5 minutes ahead. The wind all of a sudden started to rise, crosswind for the riders, buffeting them quite dramatically across the road.
The leaders now are really battling into that headwind too, and the peloton were closing in, and Hanier Acevedo, the leader of this race since stage 2, was not paying attention. He was sitting at the back of the group. As the group arrived in the town of Guadalupe, the wind was changing direction.
No, it certainly was, and at that point the red, white and blue jerseys of Team Radio Shack came to the front end of the main field and started to put up the screws, causing chaos at the back end of the race.
The pressure was coming from Team Radio Shack, and in particular Jens Voigt at 41, the oldest rider in the race. He'd mustered the teams up, and the strong men were working together. Acevedo was being left behind at the tail of the bunch.
6 men from the top 10 in the overall standings are missing out on the split, but most importantly, number 131, the leader of the race, Hanier Acevedo, was well back.
Some teams, like Orica Green Edge, have packed 4 men into that leading group. The second-placed overall rider, TJ Van Garderen, was there. So too was Michael Rogers, the 2010 winner, and Matthew Boucher. These were the important men in the overall, but sprinters were there too, and they quickly wiped out the lead of the 3 men who have been clear for most of the day so far.
And over the next hour and a quarter of racing, it turned out to be a massive battle between the leading group and the main field behind, which tried on occasions to pull back the leading group of 18 riders. They got at one stage as close as 30 seconds, but finally the main field started to crack.
They were under pressure now, and this was an important sprint here for just a 3-second, 2-second and 1-second time bonus. Thor Hushovd wanted to try and let TJ Van Garderen get the 3 seconds, but he had to take it himself as Michael Rogers came up on the outside. Racing for that yellow jersey were Rogers and TJ, and they'd just taken a second away.
But the main field decided they would not lay down arms. They realized there was still a chance they could pull themselves back to the leading group of riders. But there were some good sprinters in that leading group as well. Michael Matthews from Orica Green Edge and Peter Sagan, the leader of the sprint competition. Hanier Acevedo, though, could do nothing. He just sat in the pack and hoped, crossed his fingers, that it would all come back together.
There were a few teams interested in taking up the chase, and it was left to just 1 or 2 teams to try and limit the escape. For a long time, it was less than a 1-minute advantage for the 17 front-runners, but they were in no way ever going to come back. As they raced towards the finish, the change of direction. Around the corner was the finish, and Jens Voigt, with nothing to lose and knows he can't sprint, broke clear of the field, and there was no reaction immediately.
At 4 kilometers to go, he had an advantage of 5 seconds over the main field, but he was willing himself to get around the corner. And at the Flamme Rouge, the Kendo 1,000 meters to go, he still led the race by 7 seconds.
Peter Sagan, the big sprinter, was in the group, as was Tyler Farrell, but they had no teammates to chase Jens Voigt, so they had to just watch and see him ride away. Jens Voigt at 41 wins his 2nd stage in history of the Amgen Tour of California. The clock would count down just a handful of seconds before Farah, Hushovd and Sagan would contest the sprint for 2nd place.
And there was a huge change in the overall classification because 6 riders out of the top 10 failed to make the joint in that leading group of 17 riders down towards the end. It was a big day of celebration for Jens Voigt, but also for the young American TJ Van Garderen, because he becomes the new leader of this bike race overall when the yellow jersey group lost more than a minute.
And so it now means the new leader on the eve of the only time trial of this year's Amgen Tour of California is TJ Van Garderen. He now leads Michael Rogers by 42 seconds, a three-time world time trial champion. Acevedo's down to third. Boucher is in fourth. Philip Dijkman down from third to fifth. But they'll all be out to do it all again tomorrow at San Jose, because these riders now have to head up to San Jose tonight, a ride of over 300 kilometers for this crucial race of truth. TJ Van Garderen has the advantage now of being the last man to start, and he'll be watching all of the other 114 riders left in the race.
The kiss for a beautiful Michelob Ultra.